This is CBC Windsor. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer LaGrassa. Katarina is away. We begin with a developing situation in downtown Wheatley. Police are investigating after reports of a gas smell. They've closed off some streets and evacuated some homes. Nearly 4 years ago, there was a gas explosion in Wheatley's core, so this situation really has some people on high alert. Our Jacob Barker is there now. Jacob, what's the latest?
Well, Jen, you can see that fire crews are set up right here behind me on Talbot Street, and it's right in front of the library that's here in Wheatley, but it is what's going on behind the library that is of most interest. Chatham-Kent Fire Chief Chris Case made a post to X earlier today, and this is what he had to say they're doing about it.
When we arrived, we found a area at the back of the library that's bubbling with water and gas coming up, which we confirmed is hydrogen sulfide. As a precaution, we have evacuated some houses in the area. We appreciate everybody's cooperation. This is the last thing we wanted to see, and we know this is a terrible thing to happen again. However, all the agencies are here working, so we just ask for your cooperation while we try and work out what's going on.
Now, Jacob, how did this all start?
Well, Jen, one thing I noticed when I first arrived here is the smell in the air, and that's what a lot of residents here have been smelling all afternoon. One resident that I spoke with, he smelled the odor of gas and called 911. He is no stranger to a situation like this. His business is in the area that people were told to leave in 2021 after a huge explosion destroyed some buildings. Here just to the left of me, you can see an empty spot where those buildings used to be. People were out of their homes and out of their businesses for a number of months, including the person that I spoke with. He grabbed all of his stuff today, as much of it as he could, the gear that he uses to do his job, before leaving his business, because he doesn't want to be out like he was last time.
That's a little unnerving. I mean, we've all been through this before, but like I said, out of an abundance of caution and public safety, they decided to cordon off the downtown area again, and I think that's the right decision. Let's just wait and see it happens, and I'm really hopeful that everything's just going to be fine.
Yeah, I can't imagine how hard this all is for the residents there. Jacob, what's next for them?
Well, what they are being told is the western side of Erie Street, people who live in a stretch of homes on this side of the street have been told to leave. They're being told to go to the arena. And one fire official that I overheard speaking to one of those residents says that they hope that it is a short stay at the arena.
Okay, thanks,
Jen.
Jacob. That's the CBC's Jacob Barker in Wheatley. We're turning now to an update in a human rights tribunal case launched by a Windsor police officer. CBC's Pratush Dayal has more.
A human rights tribunal of Ontario mediation between the city's first black inspector and the Windsor Police Service has been unsuccessful. Inspector Norman Ed Armstrong filed a discrimination and sexual harassment complaint in 2024, alleging he was discriminated against based on his race and the color of his skin. Armstrong also says he received unwanted sexual harassment or advances. Both the tribunal representative and a spokesperson for the Windsor Police Union confirm the mediation process that began on June 19th hasn't been successful and that the parties did not settle. Armstrong became Windsor's first black staff sergeant in 2020 and the first black inspector in 2021. CBC also reached out to the Windsor Police Service but didn't receive a response by the time of this broadcast. The matter still remains before the Human Rights Tribunal, and according to the tribunal, the file is under review with an adjudicator who will determine what the next steps are. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy is here. Colette, I hear we might have some storms that are headed our way.
We have a few different things going on here, Jennifer. So for starters, we're back into a heat warning with some of the warmth pushing back in, but more so the dew points going up. So more humidity, so heat warning back at least until tomorrow. Although I do see on the horizon several days where we're going to be looking at some warm temperatures and humidex values back in the 40s. So we'll see what happens with that. It may come back again as we move into the weekend and next week. Also, the special weather statement, and that is because of some of the storms will have some heavier downpours. Now, for now, we've had this batch kind of riding through, and we're actually into a drier slot back towards Windsor. And there is some action to the west of us, but some of that is dying out. So I actually think, although there's a slight chance for some thunderstorms or isolated cells tonight, we probably won't see much more. 21 tonight and 32 tomorrow, feeling like 43 with more activity to return. And that's why we do have that special weather statement for some heavier rain.
Okay, thanks, Colette. A new COVID-19 variant is spreading this summer. Hospitalizations are high, and doctors say getting the shot is still a smart move for protection against serious illness. Christine Burak reports.
Still wondering if the COVID shot is worth it? It may not shield you from infection, but it could keep you out of hospital.
This study reinforces that updated COVID-19 vaccines reduce severe disease. That's really important.
A newly published study finds the latest COVID-19 vaccines offered significant protection for about 2 months. Those who got the shot lowered their risk of becoming critically ill by nearly 70% and cut their chances of hospitalization and emergency department visits roughly in half. Protection did wane over time, dropping to about 50% for critical illness, but remained effective up to a year.
If you sold me something that said, you have a 50% chance of not having something bad, I would take that in a heartbeat.
It doesn't happen to you until it happens to you, and at that stage, it's too late.
The latest Canadian data show since August of last year, nearly 32,000 Canadians have been hospitalized with COVID-19, and over 2,000 deaths were reported, mostly in people over 65. That's more than triple the number of flu deaths.
It's going to continue to evolve the way that flu does and, try and sort of outwit and outrun our immune system.
A new variant has been surging in China, India, and the U.S. Nicknamed Nimbus, symptoms can include a severe sore throat. The World Health Organization is tracking it. So far, the severity appears similar to other variants. Family doctors say they're seeing plenty of patients sick with viral illnesses.
A lot of the COVID questions I'm getting around this time of year are actually around vaccines.
Canada's Vaccine Advisory Panel says anyone over 6 months can get a COVID-19 vaccine. It recommends those at higher risk, especially people over 65, should get a shot this fall. It could be the difference between a tough week at home and a trip to the ER. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
A protest rally took place in Toronto against a new education bill from the Ontario government. The proposed legislation would require some school boards to put police officers in their schools. Some police services are reacting positively, but critics say it could cause more harm than good for some students. Ethel Musa reports.
We keep us safe! We keep us safe!
The rain couldn't keep these demonstrators away. They're protesting proposed legislation that could force some school boards to put police officers in public schools.
We will fight! We will fight! We will win! We will win!
Opponents of the legislation say generations of young Black and racialized students have been harmed by school resource officer programs, or SROs.
The Education Act is very clear about when cops have to be in schools, right? When there's a lockdown, when there are any threats in the community or at the school. Cops legally have to be called as per the Education Act. What we are saying no to is any additional presence of cops in our hallways with guns. Students don't need guns. Students need support.
But having police inside schools promotes safety and creates the opportunity to foster important connections, says the Provincial Police Association.
The goal of the programs is to bridge the gap between police and youth and build positive relationships.
This academic says there's no evidence police in schools reduce violence, and their presence could have a negative effect.
What we do know is that in a variety of studies, they have shown that especially in the United States, putting SROs in schools increases punitive forms of discipline, where principals and teachers will turn to the police officer in their school to help them with things that they might not have turned to them for in the past.
Ontario's premier says the message he's received from parents has been overwhelmingly positive.
We aren't going in there and putting a heavy arm with the police, and no, they're part of the community. So I think it's fantastic that we're putting community officers within the schools.
The bill is expected to go to a final vote in the fall. The Ford government's majority means it will likely pass. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
School's out and it's officially summer, which means it's the perfect time to read. Whether it's finding a good book to take to the beach or to curl up in a chair with, we've got you covered. So we headed over to River Bookshop in Amherstburg, where their lead bookseller shared her must-reads for the summer.
2 must-reads for this summer for me would be, well, I'll give you one for adults and one for kids. For adults, I know everyone knows Taylor Jenkins Reid, but this author really has the ability to grab even the most reluctant readers, and she has a new book called Atmosphere that takes place around the time of the Space Shuttle program and features a character who is training to be the first woman in space. And from what I've heard, very emotional, very meaningful, and we all love her books, everyone who works here. So I would say that's a must. It's going to be my next read. And then one for kids, even though it's not super new, it's new to us because we're doing it for Junior Book Club, which is our club for ages 7 to 12. So it's called Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. Actually, we're doing 2 books this summer by her. But that one I'll talk about. I love the premise. Basically, it's about a student who is deaf and she has a hard time communicating with her classmates. And she learns that there is a whale out there who communicates on a frequency that no other whales do. And it's called the loneliest whale in the world. So people might have heard of this. So it takes that concept, and basically the character decides she's going to sing back to the whale and try and communicate with the whale. And it's just a really beautiful story. And I think if any kids looking for a read this summer, that would be a great one.
So here's Megan's full recommended reading list. For the avid reader, Dark Like Under. For the reluctant reader, Atmosphere. For teens, Song for a Whale. For children, The Wild Robot on the Island. For pride, interesting facts about space. And Megan's top pick, Toward Eternity. And while we're talking about books, it's actually an important day for a well-known title. It was 28 years ago today that Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the first book in the Harry Potter series, was released. Little fun fact for you there. Whale watchers in Newfoundland have a chance to know the sea mammals on a first-name basis. All it takes is a picture of their tail, and AI will help identify them. CBC's Malone Mullen has more on how it works.
Wildlife photographer Alex Suey is used to being up close and personal with humpback whales.
We're gonna get a tail.
For 20 years, he's been taking their portraits. Now he can use AI to figure out whether this pod is one he's seen before.
I took a lot of whale tail pictures, but I didn't know, you could find out the story. And what shocked me was, now you know that there's a name to the whale, which is surprising.
Suey has been sending his photos to Newfoundland and Labrador's new online whale diary, Hello Humpback. It's a website spearheaded by the province's tourism department, which says it's not like any other campaign they know of in the world. The program uses artificial intelligence to hone in on the unique markings on a whale's tail, its fluke, to identify individual animals. Just from a photo of a fluke, the AI model can figure out who this whale is, where it's been, and when. But it also goes a step further and actually generates a story about each whale, even, as Suey said, giving it a name. It's a timely effort. As the climate changes, tourism operators are seeing whales coming to visit these waters earlier.
The capelin that they feed on is really temperature dependent for their spawning. So with bigger shifts, we'll start to see bigger changes with humpback whale migrations.
Although it's only a month old, the tourism minister says Hello Humpback is already helping track the whales.
We've had 150,000 visitors, and we've actually had 3 new whales identified.
Whale lovers on this tour say they're keen to help the cause.
It's important that we do whatever we can to track
see what they're doing and what's happening with them.
Suey says the project helps him get a tiny bit closer to these giant creatures.
It's just like fingerprints, face recognition, it just recognizes the whales easier. To me, it helps me to know more about the whale, where they have been from, and how long has they been away from Newfoundland.
Making his passion for capturing wildlife in photos that much more meaningful. Malone Mullen, CBC News, Bay Bulls, Newfoundland.
A look outside. It's happy summer break to all the students in our region. We've got more news coming up, so stay with us. The Trump administration continues to aggressively defend the U.S. airstrikes on Iran last Sunday, doubling down on how destructive the attacks have been to Iranian nuclear facilities. It comes after an early leaked U.S. intelligence report says the country's nuclear program may have only been set back by months. Sam Sampson reports from Washington.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Top United States military officials at the Pentagon gave even more detail about strikes on Iranian nuclear sites Thursday, showing test videos of the bombs that were eventually fired into exhaust shafts and, according to the U.S., destroyed the underground facilities.
Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater
because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordo went exactly where they were intended to go.
This briefing, in part, was to prove media outlets wrong, the ones that reported on a preliminary intelligence document which suggested the impacts to the nuclear sites were limited.
There was a great deal of irresponsible reporting based on leaks, preliminary information in low confidence. Again, when someone leaks something, they do it with an agenda.
The Trump administration says it will investigate the leak, though some are already making their own guesses.
It's dangerous and ridiculous that happened, but we're going to solve that problem, and we'll keep the coordination.
Do you think the leak came from Congress, sir?
That's my suspicion.
As Washington plays whodunit, world leaders continue to weigh in on the damage done at those Iranian nuclear sites. Both Israel and Iran have claimed victory and give varying degrees of how badly the sites were hit.
Il a subi d'énormes dégâts.
The leader of the UN's nuclear watchdog in a French interview Thursday said centrifuges at the Fordo plant are no longer operational and that there is considerable damage.
The only other time the United Nations, Israel, Iran, and the United States has agreed on something is that the sky is blue, but they all agree that Iran's nuclear facilities were completely demolished.
Though President Trump said Wednesday he plans on meeting with Iran next week, his press secretary said there's nothing on the books, only that the two countries are on a diplomatic path. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Washington.
Some of the world's top celebrities have started to arrive in Venice. They're there to kick off the 3-day wedding extravaganza for Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his fiancée Lauren Sanchez. But not everyone in the city is in a celebratory mood. CBC's Megan Williams has more on the protests threatening to crash the wedding.
For weeks, protesters have slammed the event as a symbol of everything that's wrong with Venice today, a historic city turning into a playground for millionaires and billionaires. One activist in St. Mark's Square unfurled a banner reading, "The 1% ruins the world." Locals accuse the city of selling out, of neglecting housing, public services, and local businesses, while catering to mass tourism and to tycoons.
I like the protest. I am glad that he's doing it and that everyone is being so cooperative about it.
I think it's good, yeah. I think we should talk about these things, but to be conscious about something that happens in the world, not just be silent.
Activists say that all of these things are connected: a billionaire wedding, Trump private jets, governments increasingly out of touch with their people. They say they will shut down the canals and close off bridges on Saturday, which is the expected day of the wedding. In response, wedding organizers have moved the actual venue of the wedding to the Arsenale. It was supposed to be in the city center. Now it's going to be in this historic shipyard, beautiful space, easy to protect from protesters. Of course, none of this has stopped celebrities pouring in. There's been Oprah, the Kardashians, politicians like former White House advisor Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. They're all coming in on private jets, which of course has not diminished the anger towards these people. Critics are calling this wedding one more cash grab for the city that is selling its soul to tourism and to billionaires. Megan Williams, CBC News, Rome.
As Colette Kennedy said, we have weather alerts in place for our region, so we'll have more on that after the break. Colette Kennedy is back. Colette, school is officially out in our region, and that's when it really feels like summer begins.
Yeah, for sure. I can still remember those days.
Yeah, I know, me too. I miss those days. But what are things looking like? What can people expect for tomorrow?
Yeah, so I know that it can look a little bit dire when you look at an app and you see on the icon showing thunderstorms or whatever. But the whole day is actually not going to be like that. In fact, much of it is looking pretty good for southwestern Ontario. But you have to take into consideration that we're back into a heat warning, Pelee Island included in this as well, because of not only the temperatures but the humidex values going back into the 40s. Now, Environment Canada has issued this and saying it's through tomorrow evening. But really, as I look ahead, we're going to have several days where we're going to be seeing temperatures on the warmer side. There are different conditions for meeting the heat warning in southwestern Ontario because it tends to be more hot and humid in this part of the country. But we may see a heat warning coming back just because of what's to come here in the next 5 to 7 days. Current temperatures at 27 degrees. We have had, some of those showers and thunderstorms rolling through that have had an impact, but feeling like we're in the mid-30s. All right, that humidex isn't that extreme. Special weather statement 2. Now, these would be highly localized, but certain areas can get the heavier downpours when you are talking about thunderstorm cells rolling through. Some of these are weakening, still some activity there around Chatham-Kent, but we've been drying out here from Windsor towards Leamington. Now, there's still a chance for a few isolated cells as we go into the evening, but mostly I've got us going into a drier period as we push through tonight, even though there's a lot of action around us. And then there's still going to be some of that energy tomorrow. And with that, we get into a chance, especially later in the day on Friday. Not so much in the morning, sun mixing with cloud in there, but into the late afternoon and early evening where we could have some of that moisture coming through again. So that special weather statement is for certain areas picking up over 40 to perhaps 60 millimeters of rainfall. We'll see how that rides out because let me just show you. I was checking out various models here, and this is the one that I could find with sort of the highest amounts. Now, this is just through Friday. If we take it through Saturday, then certainly Leamington, you could be looking at 40 to 50 millimeters of rain through there, too. Temperatures tonight, 20 to 21 for lows. 32. I've got humidex near 40. Tomorrow it'll be around 38. That's near 40. But some of these days rolling forward, it's going to be more towards 42 to 43. Also near 40, but a distinction on the higher side of it.
Okay. Not too bad of a first day of summer, so to say.
Yes.
Unofficial summer.
Yes, for the kids.
Thanks, Colette. And thanks, everyone, for watching. Have a good night.
Good night.